Hi there, how you doing? Just myself again. I wanted to take a couple of minutes. I didn't get a chance to do it in a live stream I did earlier this morning, but I've wanted to do this over the weekend. I wanted to talk about what it is I mean when I refer to the truther industrial complex. And the reason I'm doing this is I've had a lot of emails and tweets from people, which you can see on my Twitter page over the last few days, asking me to answer a content creator based in the United States who was on my program about 2.5 years ago. He sometimes appears on Press TV. He describes himself as a socialist. His name is Scott, and I'm only giving the guy publicity now by mentioning him. But anyway, the guy took grave offence to something I said when referring to an article published by InfoWars, when InfoWars was complaining about being blocked from PayPal or being prevented from using PayPal. And I was struck by the selfish nature of the post by Alex Jones, or one of the writers. Of course it was one of the writers for InfoWars, decrying the fact that they'd been banned from PayPal. But rather than dealing with that, and that's not right, I would never support that. Regardless of what I think about what somebody has to say, I would never support them being prevented from saying what it is they want to say. Not that that is the case with InfoWars. They're not being deplatformed. Oh, he's been banned from YouTube. Yeah. But he's InfoWars. They've got millions of viewers on their live show, and they've got a massive website. That's one of the biggest websites in the world. They're going to be okay. Don't wait for them. That being said, I don't approve of YouTube blocking them, or anybody else for that matter. But what struck me as particularly callous by InfoWars was the fact that they called for PayPal to go after liveleak.com and one or two other websites, which I thought was pretty pathetic. You're complaining on the one hand about PayPal trying to hinder your ability to make money, but then you're recommending that PayPal does it to other people. Crazy. And I was lamenting this, not lamenting it, but I was pointing out the silliness of it and the selfishness of it, and how so much of the truther industrial complex is all about me. It's all about me. Now, I'm no angel. I'm not shy of expressing an opinion. What is journalism? What is content creation? Well, it's become a lot of things. What do I think it should be? Well, I created the Richie Allen Show in 2014. It came out of the failure of TPV television. And my going to work for TPV television, going to work for David Icke and Sean Adel Tabatabai, speaking of idiots, Sean Adel. But anyway, me going to work for them came out of me making programs in Spain for Talk Radio Europe. Programs where I tried to put people on the air who had things to say that were considered to be harmful or considered to be unacceptable. Conspiracy researchers and everything else. So I believe that making programs, producing programs, content creation and journalism should be about providing a platform for that which is suppressed. It should not be about promoting yourself. The information, as was said to me many times by David Icke, to be fair to David and others, the information should always be the star, if there is to be a star, not the presenter and what anybody thinks of the presenter. It's impossible these days not to give an opinion or to express an opinion, something which we would have been discouraged from doing when I got my start in commercial radio. So by all means express an opinion, but it shouldn't really be about you. So what's the truther industrial complex then? Well, the truther industrial complex, which is a term that was coined in 2011 or 2012 by an American journalist who wrote an article which was syndicated in a few different magazines, where he went after what he saw as people who were selling snake oil to people, or selling people, basically selling to people, selling them back their own opinions and their own points of view. And that's about right. It might be a tad bit more complicated than that. What is the truther industrial complex, and what characterizes a truther working in the truther industrial complex? Well, the truther industrial complex as a group, and it doesn't work together, not often anyway, you got a collection of individuals, have identified that because of the craziness of the world we live in, the sickness of it, the psychopathy of this world, that more and more people are becoming alive to the fact that pretty much everything they have been told and sold through the education system, through their religious denomination, through their religious persuasion, everything they've been told is at least up for question. And in many cases, people are beginning to realize it's complete nonsense. And that's left people in a bit of a spin. It's left people concerned and worried. Well, if all of this that I've been told about how we came to be here, who's in charge, that I can change things by going to the ballot box every few years, if all that's wrong, what's really going on? So there are people out there looking for answers. And that's where the truther industrial complex comes in. And it's hard to tie down in one definition what characterizes a truther, because there's so many different ways in which the truther industrial complex works. One of the ways that I've highlighted on the program and I've attacked is the idea of activist journalists. And I've talked about that in relation to Syria and Libya and Iraq and so on, so on, so on, so on. But ultimately, it's people preying on the vulnerabilities, the discomfort of, the discombobulation of people who don't know what's going on. And a truther in the truther industrial complex sells to the person what it is they want to hear. So they identify that the person who's all over the place, doesn't understand what's going on, is looking into things like false flag terrorism, is looking into things like weather modification and geoengineering and lots of different things. And what the truther does, and it isn't very subtle, is it identifies what that person themselves, himself or herself, is saying, and then sells it back to them through a variety of ways, whether it's through blogging, whether it's through podcasting, whether it's through conferences. And it's not journalism by any definition how this works, because the truther encourages the same thing that I was talking about on the video before this one. It encourages the shutting down of dissent and the ostracizing of opinions and beliefs that conflict with their narrative. Truthers are just as bad as the mainstream media when it comes to dealing with anything that challenges how it is they do what they do, or what it is that they do. It's incredible. You've only got to see it with the reaction to and again, I'm not important. Who the hell am I? I'm just a guy who speaks to people. It's the platform, right? Not me. My opinions, and people can say what they want about me. They can scream abuse at me, call me names, good stuff. I've been making radio for years and years and years, and television. I've heard it all. I've got very thick skin. Very thick skin, you fat bastard, Richie. So that's what the truther industrial complex is. It operates in an echo chamber. And it panders to the ego and the, in some cases, the narcissistic nature of people. Again, many of whom are frightened, are nervous, are worried, don't understand why things are getting worse and worse and worse, are moving away from the sources where they ordinarily get their information and are looking elsewhere. And the truthers are ready to pounce. Well, I'll tell you what you want to hear. I'll tell you exactly what you want to hear. I will assure you that that which you are thinking, that which you now believe, I will assure you that it is right. I will expose you to loads of stuff that will convince you that you're right all along. And in return, I'll charge you to access my website, or I'll charge you to access my videos, or I'll put a GoFundMe page up, or I'll have a conference where I'll roll out some of my fellow truther industrial complex masters, mistresses, experts. Will tell you what you want to hear and you can go home happy. That's what it is. That's how I see it. Truther industrial complex. You don't have to agree with that. You can be triggered by it. You can be screaming at your screen now, calling me all the names under the sun. That's fine. That's fine. I have no problem with it. I don't mind. Like I said, I've been doing this for years. I began doing live radio shows in 1998. The abuse that I got, and most of it was justified, by the way, at the time when I started. That's how bad I was. And I might not have improved. And you might think that, and that's fine as well. Like I said, very thick skin. But that's what the truther industrial complex is. It doesn't encourage debate. It wants to marginalise, ostracize, and remove from the field of vision of its target anything which disagrees with it. It's amazing. And I see this sometimes when I invite mainstream politicians on the show, old Tories, you know, old Labour folks, mainstream academics whom I invite on because I want to put to them the sort of things that some of my other guests are saying. I like to ask academics about geoengineering. I like to ask academics about vaccines. It's good. They inevitably will say, well, there's no evidence. That's a conspiracy. That's fine. Conspiracy theory. But I want to put it to you. I want to let you know that I don't agree with you, that I think that there is a lot of questions to be answered by the pharmacological industry about vaccines. There's a lot of questions to be answered about weather modification and about contrails and chemtrails. And I'm not offended by the fact that you think it's all conspiracy theory, but I'm glad that you came on my program so I could let you know that there is a growing body of people talking about this stuff. It's good. But I see the response to that then. The response from some sections of my audience is rage that you would invite somebody on that disagrees. I mean, you're well aware of geoengineering, Richie. Why the hell are you bringing him on? Because he doesn't agree. Or she doesn't agree, or they don't believe it. Let's find out why. Right, all right. And what the truther industrial complex is doing, at the same time the mainstream media is doing it, and academia is doing as well, it is trying to basically block from our lives those who would challenge our points of view, those who would ask questions of our opinions and seek to find out from us how we came, in fact, to think as we do. Why should you be scared of that? Why should anybody be worried about that? So that's a kind of a long-winded, rambling maybe, you could say rambling, but it's hard to pin down what the truther industrial complex is in a few sentences. But I suppose I would say, if I was challenged to find a few words to describe it, it's basically a movement that's developed in the last decade of parasitic, and I really do believe that, men and women who have identified the reaction in people, the emotional reaction in people, whom are coming around to understand that all isn't as it seems, or all is not how you were told it is. And there have always been people there to financially exploit groups of people, no matter what the genre, no matter what field it is. Why should it be any different now? It's a gold rush to get on YouTube or to get a website and start telling people about false flag terrorism or about geoengineering or whatever. I'll tell you what you already know. Now send me a check. That's how it is. You know? You're a hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite. I don't charge for the Richie Allen Show. I never will charge for it. I will always suggest to people, even though I don't very often, but if you do manage to have the price of a cup of coffee once a month to send our way, do. But if you don't worry about it. You know, I'll find other ways to keep it going. It'll never be behind a paywall, ever. If it ever got to that stage, I would just go. So I'm not perfect. There's a lot wrong with. There's a lot that people can say, and I've said there's a lot wrong with how he does, what he says. Absolutely, listen, 100%. And when I do the phone-ins, nobody's ever been blocked from ringing in. You can ring in, you can have a go at me and my opinions and the manner in which I do what I do. I'm well open to it. I've got massively thick skin. But when Scott Creighton, who's, I'm doing him a big favour by giving him a mention, by the way. Now, if you want arrogance, there's arrogance right there. Drawing attention to him. Losing their collective excrement. When I talk about the truth or industrial complex, I suggested to them, well, maybe I've hit a nerve there, or maybe I've struck a nerve there. But then it could also be argued that really it's none of my business what anybody else does to make a living. That's a fair argument. What I would say there is, yeah, okay. But as well as giving a platform to those who can't speak out on the big issues because of their opinions, as well as doing that, I do regularly in the monologues lampoon and highlight areas in which the mainstream media is being very mischievous. And why shouldn't I occasionally highlight examples where the independent, so-called independent media is doing that as well? Surely the independent media, and that includes the Richie Allen Show, should not be above reproach, should not be above criticism and questioning. Absolutely not. What's good for the goose? If you're going to criticise the BBC, Channel 4, Sky, The Independent, The Guardian, The Telegraph, why shouldn't my programme be criticised? Right? Criticise it. But be clear in what you're saying. I'm pretty clear about what I'm doing and what I'm saying when I'm criticising the independent media and the mainstream media. Be clear about it. What don't you like? Why? Let's have a chat about it. So that's the truth or industrial complex. As I see it, it is it's anything but journalism. It's anything but free speech and open debate. It isn't. It's about exploiting those who are really fed up and worried and disconcerted about the things that are happening in their world and are looking for answers. Those people will form opinions. And the truther and the truther industrial complex seeks to feed that person back their own opinions in return for a fee. And there are many characteristics of the truther. Their programs are largely about them and their opinions. The truther spends an awful lot of time talking about how he or she is being attacked because of what they do, implying some sort of importance to what it is they're doing. There are many characteristics of it. Beware of it. And don't become like the Generation Snowflake Brigade that you criticise and you quite rightly hammer for shutting down debate. Don't be like that. I'll give you an example and then I'm going. I've got to prepare today's programme. I'm always struck by a sense of bemusement when I get a message and they come in thick and fast from people asking me, how can you have anything to do with Hayden Hewitt? How can you, Richie? He tweeted me that he thinks that chemtrails is a load of bollocks. How can you have anything to do with him? Now you might argue that such a question doesn't warrant an answer. It is so ridiculous. So he disagrees with me. He doesn't believe that planes are pumping heavy metals into the ionosphere. But I like him. He's very funny. He's very intelligent and he's very articulate. And I have great conversations with him. Many of those conversations, we have banter where we hammer back and forth about conspiracies, things that I believe to be really happening and things that he doesn't. What am I going to do? Cast him to the side? Never speak to him again? That would be a long list, wouldn't it, if you started doing that? Jesus. Who else thinks that I'm crazy when I think the intelligence agencies are blowing places up and blaming it on Muslims? Well, pretty much fucking everybody that I ever grew up with. So I better ban them all then, hadn't I? I blame the Truth or Industrial Complex for this mentality. How can you be great pals with him when he thinks we're all fucking mad? He's a good lad. And you know what? Nobody does more than him to enable. And he gets nothing for it. Not a penny. Nothing. Nobody does more to help people like me provide that platform for the voiceless. But some people would have me distance myself because he thinks that geoengineering, that heavy metal spraying in the ionosphere is ridiculous. And he doesn't believe it's happening because he hasn't seen any evidence. Therefore, he has to be banned. And that's what the fucking snowflakes want. People who disagree with you, get rid of them. You can navigate life like this, in a cocoon, without ever being exposed to people who think, you're a bit silly there. I don't agree with that. That's, fair enough, you don't, okay. Listen, if you feel like it, I got this from the Washington Post, or I got this from the New York Times. There's a guy at a university somewhere and he thinks it might be going on. If you feel like it, have a look at it, but don't worry about it. We're not going to fall out. We're all suffering, aren't we? In this lunatic asylum. So the idea that because people disagree with us, they must be shills, or they must be banned, or they must be disowned, is terrifying to me. Terrifying. It really is. It's madness. And I see so much of it now. And I blame social media. I blame the mainstream media. And I blame the Truth or Industrial Complex. Because they all feed into the great echo chamber. When you're online all the time, you cloak yourself with the opinions and with the people that agree with you or support what it is you think. That's deadly dangerous. Right, that's it for that mini rant. That's what the Truth or Industrial Complex is, in my opinion. Look it up. I can't find the article. I used the term myself about 3 years ago. Subconscious plagiarism. It's not mine. I didn't coin that phrase. I'd like to have coined it. It's a brilliant phrase and a brilliant turn of phrase. But it came out of an article, a syndicated article that definitely appeared in Popular Mechanics and probably appeared in Rolling Stone. And the person who wrote it was on the money. Where there is fear, where there is distrust, where there is concern, where there is anxiety, where there is worry, and where there is disillusion, there will be people there to prey on that and exploit that for financial gain. And that's what the truth or industrial complex is, in my opinion. Feel free to be abusive. Feel free to email me. Feel free to ring up the next live show and tell me why you think I'm a bastard. And I'll give you the platform to do it. It's as simple as that. You know, I will retweet you. Let's not get to a place where we can't handle or we can't accommodate a world with people whom we disagree with in it, because you can't do that. But there are those trying to make that happen for their own end. I'm going to leave it there. Speak to you on today's live show at 5 PM UK time. Until then.